Don't tell me the Napa cabbage kimchi is the only kimchi you tried in your life. If so, it's time to widen your kimchi experience with this cutie pie radish. Number 2, you once told me that you can't find Korean fish sauce in your area. We're gonna replace this with something else that I'm gonna show you in a minute. And lastly, you are too lazy that you don't wanna make a thickener for making kimchi. We're gonna replace that with this. You only need this ingredient. I know that feeling when you watch a recipe video and realize you're missing just one ingredient. It's frustrating. That's why I brought you this Kkakdugi recipe. Tip number 1, you don't need Napa cabbage for this. And I can already hear you saying, but I can't even find daikon radish. I get it, I really do. Just find a radish that looks as similar as possible to the one I'm using. Check an Asian or Korean store. If that's not an option, use cabbage from your regular grocery store, but those red salad radishes, probably not the best fit. First, take 3 kg of radish and wash them thoroughly. The ideal thickness is 1/2 inch, which is little less than 1.5 centimeter. Thick rectangles. Sprinkle 4 tablespoons of salt evenly over the radish. Add 200 ml of water and massage to dissolve the salt. If you live alone or are the only one in your family who eats kimchi, make a smaller batch. You might have seen some recipes that only use dry salt for brining. You can simply imagine what is more efficient. Number 1, radish being salted in the salt water versus radish being salted with just salt. You know the answer. Soaking the radish in salt water saves time, but you need to be careful not to over brine it, as it happens faster this way. 1.5 hours is usually enough for brining unless the radish pieces are super thick. While the radish is soaking, we're gonna blend some veggies and fruit to create the base. Chop 1 onion, trim the ends of 10 garlic cloves, and slice 1 pear. Remove the seeds and peel. If you're using an Asian pear, they're huge, so 1 will do. Otherwise, use 2. No pears, use an apple. No apples, just use sugar. Throw all of it into a blender along with 4 tablespoons of salted shrimp. No salted shrimp? Here's tip number 2. If you don't want to buy it just for this, you can simply use salt or any fish sauce from the grocery store. Just check the ingredients for shrimp or anchovies on the label. You know the thick, flavorful red liquid in restaurant kimchi with tiny bits of blended stuff? That's what we're making here. I've got a little problem now. I live in an apartment building. Now I have to use a blender. I don't want to wake up anybody, so I'm gonna go hide. It's 2 in the morning. Do you remember I told you at the beginning that you can replace a thickener with this? This is a steamed rice, cold steamed rice. Into the blender again. I actually forgot about this, but I should have done it earlier. Pour the blended mixture into a large bowl and add 4 tablespoons of plum extract. No plum extract? Use honey or sugar instead, but don't go overboard unless you want a candy flavored kimchi. Remember tip number 2? We're using fish sauce again. I tried making kimchi using Korean fish sauce and non-Korean fish sauce. And how it turned out? They were both good, I have to say. Which one was better? Well, I couldn't really tell. Why? Because your fish sauce already amazing. Find any typical fish sauce at your grocery and that will work. Add 5 tablespoons of any non-Korean fish sauce. Even the smell, they're very similar. They're almost likely the same. So now if you don't make kimchi at home, that means you don't want to, not because you don't have the ingredients. When I lived in Australia, age of 19, I still remember that I saw this fish sauce everywhere in Australia. I'm not sure about US, Canada, or New Zealand, or Europe, or India, but I'm sure you can find this one or something similar to this. Next, add 6 tablespoons of chili powder. I get so many questions about this. The best option is to get Korean chili powder from an Asian or Korean market. Korean chili powder is coarser than cayenne or paprika powder and finer than the crushed red pepper you sprinkle on pizza. It should be bright red with a balanced spicy sweet flavor. If you're using non-Korean chili powder, check the spice level and avoid smoky or unfamiliar flavors. While the radish is brining, stir it once to make sure the salt water soaked in evenly. Time's up, let's check the radish. Honestly, I left mine soaking a bit too long, so it's slightly softer than I'd like. Let me show you. See, this is how soft it gets. Drain the brine, but do not rinse the radish. This is important. Rinsing washes away the seasoning. Here's a tip. Don't pour the seasoning onto the radish right away. This allows the radish to absorb the seasoning better. Put the gochugaru directly on the radish. 5, 6. So now we have 6 tablespoons and another 6 tablespoons. So altogether 12 tablespoons of gochugaru. Mix the seasoning into the radish thoroughly. You don't know if this yangnyeom is gonna be too much or radish is gonna be too much. Just put half first and then see how much more you need to put. Freshly made kimchi can taste overly strong because the radish and seasoning haven't melded together yet. My fridge is packed with kimchi right now, so I'm giving this batch to my mom and my brother's family. Wonder if they will say it's good. We're gonna leave it for a while outside and then see how it turns out. Because it's not, but it's almost like fresh vegetable still. Or the fermentation hasn't been active yet. So with that warmer temperature compared to the fridge, that helps fermentation. But I'm just curious now, so I'm gonna take a bite. Let me ask you something again. Did we use the Korean fish sauce? Absolutely not. Did we use the napa cabbage? Absolutely not. Did we have to make the thickener with the flour and water? Absolutely not. So we used all the replacements and it turned out fantastic. I'm not a kimchi master, honestly. All of my life, I've only eaten the kimchi made by my grandma or mom. But one day, I thought, why not? So I started making it. And here's one thing I learned. It's easier than you think. You can do it too. I've taken the best parts of the most popular, proven recipes from Korea and simplified them for you. Wow. Quite impressive. Spiciness went down compared to the one when I just made it. We always go through that process that we leave it outside. We say 1 to 2 days because we don't know what temperature exactly it is in your city. If you are living in an extremely hot or cold weather, then it will get shorter or longer. You understand? And also, a lot of people ask me that how do I know that this fermentation is done or finished? Well, I can't say A or B. You just have to try. Okay? Maybe you cut a little bit and try and think, oh, this tastes just like the kimchi that I really love when I try at the other restaurants or at my friend's house. You remember the perfect flavor that you've tried before, and that will be your standard. No one can define this is the perfect kimchi. As long as it tastes good, as long as it's not spoiled, well, I'm not a kimchi expert. I'm not a chef. I don't have restaurants. I don't have recipe books. I do love researching, studying about the food. As far as I know, when I saw the comment saying I saw a lot of kimchi recipes, but none of them explain how the fermentation works, how long I should keep the kimchi outside for, and why does fermentation be made? The basic foundation questions not be answered in most videos. I realized we are so busy like cutting the cabbage and putting the salt in the water, but we didn't really care about understanding from your side. So I will also think about that whenever I make videos, not just being happy eating and drinking. You are here watching this. Appreciate that. Alright, that's it for today. See you in the next video.